Coffee and Chats. My name is Lindsay Giese, and I'm the Executive Director for River Arts, Inc. And today I'm joined by the one and only Cliff Thompson. Hi, Cliff.
Hello, Lindsay. Oh, it's such an honor to be with you today. We were just celebrating wearing red and our love for Sauk Prairie, so good morning.
Yes, I know. We didn't even plan it. We both just deep down love Sauk Prairie.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I am so honored to chat with you this morning. As far as Sauk Prairie celebrities go, you're at the top of the top. So this is very exciting for me.
Well, that is kind of you to include me in that title. I feel working with you and having the privilege to be part of leadership with an individual personality like you gets me excited to talk about the work that we've done and excited about the work that you and others are going to be doing in the future. So this will be great.
Well, thank you, Cliff. But today is all about you. So I would love to start with if you could just share a brief history, your background, how you got to be where you are today.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's hard to believe when you look at professionally 43 years. Cindy and I had the privilege to serve in the inner city of Milwaukee for 15 years. And that was a tremendous calling for us. It really shaped us and formed us in regards to our initial years in education. And then came the fantastic invitation in 1992 to come to Sauk Prairie. And 28 years later, we had the privilege to raise our 3 children here, who very much gained so many things from having the privilege to be part of the community and school district, and Cindy and I professionally serving in the Sauk Prairie School District. So quick snapshot, it's been fantastic, and I can't believe that it's done.
What was your first role here at Sauk Prairie? Because I know you've held several positions.
Yeah. Felt very honored to be one of the first activities directors following Terry Mashman, who I will always love and value. Tom Andrews was principal at the high school and Ellen Paul at the middle school. And the school district had the vision to continue to form a 612 activities position. At that time, there wasn't a rec director, and ideas were forming in 1992 about how the arts and athletics could come together. And that actually was my position in Milwaukee for 11 of my years, where someone said, you know, these two beautiful areas of co-curriculars should be together. So I was activities director for 11 years, and then an elementary principal of 4 of our fantastic learning communities for 9 years, and then superintendent for 7 years. And then the last year, the privilege to be part of the senior advisor team for the superintendent and school board. And I loved every job and every minute of it. It was phenomenal.
Well, that was what I reached out to the public to see if they had questions for you. And I received so many back that we can't go through all of them today because we have such a limited time. But one of them was, and I already know what you're going to say probably, but which role did you find most rewarding as teacher, principal, coach, superintendent? Yeah. Was there one role that was more rewarding than others?
You know, that's such a good question. I have to say, and I hope this doesn't sound too like you said, expected. All of them helped me grow in different ways. And it was almost like a sequence of opportunities to really gain greater insights into our fantastic school district and community. I will say, beginning as activities director was an incredible introduction to really see the heart of this community and school district. And then everything else just flowed, both with people and programs and facilities.
Do you remember, I'm sure that there have been many funny moments over the years, but do you remember one that sticks out specifically that you are able to share with the public?
You know, I appreciate that question. Many times I had to laugh at myself, either because of something that I did or said, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not, whether it was the very first outdoor pep rally we did, the sun was setting and it was such a beautiful night, and it was my introduction to the community and welcoming students to participate in co-curriculars. And I had the privilege to carry one of our student athletes on my back for 100 yards, and then they carried me. And I stumbled in that, and I had to pick myself up and excuse myself to the person that was letting me carry, and said, "Oh, Mr. Thompson, this is so much fun." We tried so many different things, whether it was claps, enthusiastic meetings, but then that carried over, to the positions. And I have to tell you, Lindsay, our community was so welcome to being encouraging, to really letting everyone know how important they were to the work and to the contributions they were going to make. So I have to tell you, I have so many great memories, many of them just kind of chuckling at, well, we tried that was great, or we tried that and we're gonna do it different next time. I hope that answer just helps form the growth that took place.
Yes, I love it. And I actually have a funny story to share myself. And I think that I've brought this up in recent years, and you don't remember this pep rally. Well, I'm sure you remember it, but you don't remember the story in the way that I remember the story, which is probably a common thing that happens. But this is the early 2000s, and we were in the high school gym. I don't remember what the pep rally was for, but I distinctly remember you talking about leadership. And you did like an analogy of when you go into a public restroom at school, if you walk into the stall and it's not flushed, a leader will flush that toilet because that's the right thing to do and you're setting an example, and a follower will go to the next stall. And I'm sure you said it so much more eloquently than that, and like with more just profound wisdom, but that's the part that stuck to me. And Cliff, I'm telling you, however many years later, I think about that story when I go into a public restroom and I have to flush the toilet because I feel too guilty if I don't, because I want to be a leader.
Oh, thank you for remembering that. Thank you for framing that so positively, because I'm not sure I did it so articulately and eloquently. But
better.
yes, it's things like that, Lindsay. The opportunity to serve, right, and serve sincerely. And you beautifully brought us back to my humble attempt to be able to teach in that moment. So thank you.
Another question I received was, other than family, of course, is there any one person that stands out in your life as truly inspirational?
Yeah, and you're always so hesitant in these situations because you feel like when you honor and you exclude someone, you maybe dishonor. But I will say, and I think everybody would probably know this as well. I've already mentioned Terry Mashman and others, but Tom Andrews introduced me to Sauk Prairie before I even came to be able to serve. And we were working basketball camps together, and John Budd as well. Those two individuals said, Cliff, we would love you to think about Sauk Prairie someday. And over time, the opportunity came up. But I would say Tom and John's introduction to a place that I only knew by description until we had the privilege to move and serve here. So we'll begin with those two because they were really the ones that extended the vision and the invitation.
I didn't know that. Wow. Well, thank you to both of them for bringing you here. They knew there was something special in you. So
thank you for your kind words.
What is the history of the 1, 2, 3? I'm sure you've told the story many times. You've probably got it down.
Yeah, I think the history of the 1, 2, 3 basically is that I started as a kindergarten teacher in the inner city of Milwaukee before I became an activities director, and the rhythm of the inner city is so special. And it happened to be a school where there were all Black children. And they taught me how to braid hair. They taught me how to sing many of the songs that were back from the late 70s. And they also taught me cheers. And they were one of the first ones. And I taught kindergarten in the morning and 7th and 8th grade in the afternoon. And one of our cheers was a 1, 2, 3. And I asked them when I left Milwaukee if I could bring it with me. And they, of course, being the lovely, incredible people they are, said, well, yes. And it rhymed beautifully with Sauk Prairie, right? So 1, 2, 3, Sauk Prairie. And so the gift of a cheer that transcended from the inner city of Milwaukee to the beautiful communities that we call Sauk Prairie.
Oh, I love that. So the 1, 2, 3 has been around the whole time you've been here in Sauk Prairie.
Yeah. That first pep rally we talked about when we were outside and the sun was setting, that was the introduction to share the story of the 1, 2, 3.
So Cliff, I think without a doubt, you are one of the most positive, encouraging people who I've ever met. And it's so genuine, which that's a special gift to have. So thank you for that and for sharing that with Sauk Prairie. But I spoke to Tawana German, our executive director, and she shared a little story with me. And I'm wondering if you're comfortable to share. She said, and this will make sense, that nobody can be that positive or encouraging their whole lifetime. It is like something that you can teach yourself or learn. So she mentioned that when you were a little boy, that maybe positivity wasn't the first thing that came to mind for you, but you learned. Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, thank you. And just like you, I have such fond feelings for Tawana and the many people that I've worked with and will continue to work with as a community member now. My father was in the Air Force and he loved the Air Force, but the Air Force took us to many different locations. For example, I went to 8 different second grades. And that was very unusual. Most of the time we made a move yearly rather than multiple moves. But thanking our good friend Tawana, it was hard to make friends and make changes as a young child. And I had what I would call and still do, a negative thinking personality where when I first get up, I don't look at the gifts and the gratitude of the world. I tend to look at more the shortcomings and the uncertainties. And to make a long story short, I had an incredible grandmother, Grandma Clara Cott, who was my mother's mother. And my grandma taught me to look for the good in life and the good in others. And she said, every day when you start your day, pause, be quiet, and do just that. Take time to really look at your blessings and your gifts, and try not to dwell on the negative. And I will tell you, I will forever be grateful to Grandma Cott. And I still practice that because I'm a human being. And when I get up in the morning, I don't always see the bright side or what is to come. And as Tawana so beautifully shared, I take that pause time to really focus on the gifts of the day, the opportunities of the wonderful people I work with like you, and then to go to work in service to others. And that would be my last point on that, Lindsay, is to really focus on others as much as myself, or even more than myself. My grandma beautifully shared that it's so easy to think about ourselves first. And she taught me the gift of thinking of others first. And that helps frame that moving from uncertainty and negativity to positivity and giving.
Yes. Do you find yourself, I mean, especially times like today when we're in a pandemic, do you use that, I guess, technique every morning today, maybe more than ever before?
Yeah, you know what, thank you for making that connection. You know, Cindy is celebrating 2 years. And when I say celebrate, I say that in a very humble way. She retired from teaching 2 years ago, and now I've just joined her as of July. And people will say, you know, you left at a good time because there's so much uncertainty. And both of us look at each other and say, our hearts are heavy and our thoughts are strong because of the work that all of you are doing. And so, yes, more than ever, we find ourselves, and Cindy joins me in this, really framing and focusing on what can we do and what good is there as we work through the uncertainty of these times. So yes, beautiful question, and a very simple answer of we still use that technique. Cindy's much more positive than I am, and that's why I'm so grateful for her being in my life. But both of us use that to frame each day and give to the people in our lives.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
Thank you.
Oh, well, now we're talking about positivity, but I'm about to make a turn here. Not
Okay.
necessarily to something negative, but
Yeah.
Principal Chad Harnish gave me a little bit of insight on part of your history in the 1980s so this is kind of a two-part question. He wanted us to chat a little bit about the 1980s when you did a lot of work with college basketball and some summer camps, but also your time coaching. And I don't want to say that it was negative, but it was a different Cliff Thompson than maybe we see today, and how you worked through that time.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's kind of the evolution. My love for the people like you and Chad, and I'm going to bring Jeff Wright, our superintendent, into this. Jeff really has taught me to focus on the word growth and to celebrate growth, so that I have a tendency to lift people up to high levels sometimes, and occasionally they need a little bit of challenge with the encouragement. And so I'm going to try to tie these two together. Jeff has been so good for me to look at growth as a good thing, right? We're always striving to become better at things. And in the 80s, I had a personality of being very intense and very driven. And I worked many basketball camps, one of which was with Coach Knight at Indiana. And Coach Knight's personality was very driven, and some people would describe it negative. He did not look for the positive, but he looked to criticize everything, because his philosophy was, if you're critical, you'll eventually realize that you got to get better. And I developed a similar personality in coaching. That personality was more accepted during that time. And I look back on it now, and at the end of my coaching career, I was introduced to servant leadership. I was introduced to sports psychology. I got my first master's from the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, in sports psychology. And Lindsay, it changed my life, because what it caused me to look at, what words do I use and what work do I do to positively influence, here's back to Jeff's word, the growth of the people I serve. I was focused more on task, timelines, and work getting done. And I had to transform that to, I'm here to serve and give, let the results take care of themselves, whether it's the arts or athletics, and teach. Don't try to persuade or negatively influence or create fear, but grow and be positive as a teacher, but be clear and concise. And huge transformation that did not take place overnight, and actually is still taking place today. I have to be very honest with you. So Chad is so wise and so knowing and knows the stories, that I did not lead with the heart of a servant and teach with clarity. I was more results driven and focused on shortcomings rather than gifts and growth. That was a long explanation, but
No, but that
It
was
does express.
perfect. And I wanted to bring that up as well. I'm glad that Chad brought up that question, but I wanted to discuss that with you because I think for a lot of us, it is easy to fall into that results driven mentality and still have, good intentions,
Yeah.
but it's just a different approach. And, but also I know I speak on behalf of myself, but many others that we aspire to have the outlook and the attitude that you have. And so I think it's good for people to hear that you have had that growth and that you continue to grow and that it wasn't overnight and you didn't just become this inspirational, encouraging person, that it was very intentional and you've worked at it over the years. So that we all know that we all can achieve it if we put our minds to it.
I love the way you frame that. And I'm so excited to go back. I've learned so much from people like you, and whether we talk about Tom and Terry and Chad and Jeff, and we could go on because I've been so fortunate. But clearly the idea of you can encourage and challenge when trust is built. And that's what I learned. How do you build an avenue and a pathway so that improvement can take place? Well, you do that when you're clear, concise, and you are looking to bring out the best in others so they can serve others. So you framed it wonderfully, and I thank you that we could talk about that.
Great. I'm just going to read a few, I'm not going to say who wrote these, but a few comments from Facebook about you. I'm hoping that you've seen these comments, but if not, I just wanted to share these. A student wrote, "When I first moved here, I hated going to school, but every day I got to talk to Cliff in the hallways was a good day. He would always go out of his way to make me feel welcomed and appreciated at school and get to know me. And for a shy kid at the time with almost no social skills, I couldn't tell you how much that meant to me. Cliff Thompson is a beacon of what good educational leadership is and should be. I hope his mailbox is packed beyond belief. No one deserves it more than him." And that was referring to people sending letters to you to congratulate you on your retirement.
Thank you.
I thought that was very special. This is from another Sauk Prairie community member. "The spirit and dedication of the Sauk Prairie School District owe a lot to Cliff's leadership. I did not attend Sauk Prairie, nor did I have children in it, but I have been amazed by the student-centered culture of the district that I have seen and heard from teachers, parents, and alumni. This doesn't happen by accident. Good job, Cliff and crew."
Thank you.
And then one more here. "What a good man. I was into cross country but couldn't afford anything but cheap shoes. Cliff shows up one day in the hallways with my size. Let me add that he was never my coach or anything like that. He really went out of his way, and I'm still thankful for the gesture and his never-ending positivity and passion." So thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back to all of you that have influenced me. Billy Anderson, custodian at the high school, was one of the first people I met. And Billy's words of wisdom on July 1st, 1992 was, "Cliff, greet every person you know and try to know their first name. They will always treasure that you know them." And I tried never to forget that in whatever role I played. And boy, did I have to work on that. And even today, students and family members will stop me and say, "Cliff, do you remember my name?" And I'll go, "Oh my gosh, I need your help, please." But I'm going to use those stories as an example. Billy said, "Make sure you greet everyone. They may never greet you back, but know that they will appreciate it." And I can't tell you how many parents I had the privilege to work with when I was principal who would say, "Cliff, you would say hello to me in the hallway." And I didn't take time to say hello back, but now I want you to know how honored I am to be a part of this district as a parent and as a student. Those stories, or someone will say, we had a difficult conversation and you kept smiling at me when we'd see each other in the hallway or we'd see each other at Piggly Wiggly. And I would remind them, but remember, you kept looking at me as well. Lindsay, I think I am so honored by those comments but what I'm reminded of is we are in a journey together, and sometimes it's positive and clear, and sometimes it's so unsure. And yet, if we stay consistent in our genuineness of love and care for each other, eventually it seems like it comes back. And I am so touched by those comments. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, now shifting to the big retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's so fresh that it hasn't set in, and I know that in your words too, you and Cindy continue to look at ways to serve the community. So I know that you're not going anywhere, and that you'll continue to be here. But someone asked, what is the biggest change or most difficult change in retirement, and what's the best change? So I don't know if you can answer that yet, since it is so fresh. But
yeah, I have a little compass that I'm wearing on my wrist, and it's to daily seek direction of what I can do to serve in the future and what Cindy and I can do together. The beautiful thing about our family story, and thank you that I was going to send a picture of our family, but chose to send it of Cindy and I at her retirement. We have served in education together, but everything we do in the future, we're trying to put together so we can do it together. So for example, if we're serving a community meal at 6-8, we're doing it together. If there's a board at our church, we're doing it together. People will see us frequently walking together. We do all those things keeping in mind that our lives have been in love for each other and service to others. But I want to capture as many moments as I can, honoring our family and being with her. So we're looking for ways, we have our quiet moments, but we're looking for ways that we can be together. And I'm so glad she's still willing to do that, Lindsay. And I say that with all sincerity because we're different in personality, we're different in our gifts, but we both feel so energized at this age and stage of life that we're hoping will continue to be used for good.
Do you, so another question, and you're kind of leading me into all these questions, which is wonderful. You mentioned walking with Cindy, and somebody wanted to know how far you run or walk every day. Do you have a set goal in mind?
Well, I appreciate that. Right now, we have the gift of time. So we have a goal every day to walk 5 miles together. And then what I do is I also try to get in a run for the day. So right now I'm in this incredible training for life. But I love the privilege to be as well as I can, to be present for others. Our oldest granddaughter, Amelia, constantly challenges me to be present when I'm with her and with our family. And so I feel very honored that by being physically and mentally fit, like our conversation today, I want to honor you by making sure I'm listening to the questions and giving you the most concise and clear answers I can. That physical fitness helps guide the mental.
Oh, Cliff, you make me smile. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. You as well for me.
Do I mean, this has sort of been answered a little bit, but another question was if you have short-term and long-term goals in retirement, what those might be?
Yeah, I honestly think I wanted to work and serve until the very last day. So I was so glad that I was able to work until June 30th. Then I wanted to set the goals for what was to come. So right now, we are really in that state of seeking, reaching, and patiently waiting, but living every day to the fullest.
Wonderful. Well, I can't let you go without talking a little bit about the arts. So I wanted to know how do you experience the arts? What's your favorite type of music? Do you paint or draw or do anything like that?
I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad, you mentioned influential people earlier. Susan Holloway and Karen Lure will always be dear to me. And even though I have the privilege of being an activities director in Milwaukee, I really felt like my strongest introduction to the arts came in Sauk Prairie. And why? Because it was not only the arts, but the gift of people in the arts. For us, our interests are diverse. For us, our interests are growing. And it seems like we are continually finding new ways to celebrate the arts. So I'm giving you a very broad answer by saying, I think it's evolving as a couple. We love music. We love that our children had the privilege to benefit from this incredible program and in their influences for their teaching as well as their families. So for Sin and I, it's just unbelievable. It's the arts, but it's the arts in Sauk Prairie extended. So I want to thank someone like you who keeps growing us as a teacher and a leader to learn more and to support more.
Oh, like, you're welcome, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you like have a preference though of classical music or country or bluegrass, or are you pretty broad tastes?
I think, thank you so much. For us, I think the two genres that we probably spend the most time with would be, we enjoy country, we enjoy contemporary Christian, and Sin loves to dance. I hope she's comfortable with me saying this. So she'll put on some of the new pop stations. So my goodness, we have family in Michigan and Ohio, and when we get in the car, we listen to music the whole way, and we sing and laugh, and at 66 years old, we feel like kids again. We met in college in 1972, became friends for 6 years, and now so blessed to be married for 42 years. And that's what we love the most. We love the simple moments, whether it's a walk, singing, dancing. I don't dance very well. She does, so she leads. But to answer your question, we just celebrate. We just watched Hamilton together. And as a matter of fact, we're going to watch it again Friday night, our little date night. And we love being able to come together and then say, what did we learn and what inspired us? So I hope that helps a little bit.
It does. Do you rap along with Hamilton?
You know what? She does. I'm learning. I love that. That is so neat. Our three granddaughters, we were concerned about how much to expose them with Tay and Ben's permission to Hamilton because, some of the topics. But I'll tell you what, they were rapping right with us. So we took segments of it with them. But that is great. I love that question. I am a slower learner than Sin. She picks up that stuff quickly. So stay with me. I hope to be able to share some of those raps someday with you.
Well, and the dancing information is helpful because I maybe have just found a few contenders for a future Sauk Prairie Dancing with the Stars, I think.
Well, we watch that show, especially as the evolution of retirement was approaching. I would be fearful of my contributions, but fully support the efforts.
Okay. We'll stay tuned.
Oh, thank you. I love it.
I would love to just chat with you all day, but sadly, we're nearing the end of our coffee chat today. But you always are so wonderful with words and so inspirational that I have no doubt that you might have some final words of wisdom to share with our viewers today.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Lindsay, let me start by saying, when I received this invitation from you, I was humbled and honored. And I'd like to start with those two words. It is such a privilege. When I knew that I was going to be led to teach, I was reminded by my grandmother's words that if you are going to teach, then you need to make sure that your heart is that of a servant, and you not only look for the good in others, but you strive to bring out the good in others. And that takes patience, that takes clarity, that takes a sincereness that you and I have talked about during this conversation. It's growth. You never reach the pinnacle of that mountain, but you love striving as you reach and teach and serve others. You too grow, because like you are growing me, I have the privilege to be able to each day say, oh my goodness, look what I learned today and look what I can give. And I think if there's any wisdom in that, I was on the trail this morning and someone doing a little walk run, and someone shared with me that I think is so fitting. They recently retired and said they are not focusing what they were not doing, but they're focusing on what they've learned and what they've become. And I want to thank you for what you do and what you're doing. And I will champion and encourage you and everyone that you team with. But I also want to give the gift of forgiveness and growth that says, maybe someone like me fell short. You know, the person I shared the shoes with, well, there was someone that I didn't share shoes with. And that I asked for the forgiveness of the things I didn't do, but I celebrate the fact of today I get to do that. And so the privilege of you inspire me to want to give more and do more. So I can't thank you enough for being you, for what you do, and that you lead with such a heart for people. Thank you.
Oh, Cliff, thank you for being you. And thank you for chatting with me today.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your retirement. I'm so happy for you. And
Thank you.
my final words of this chat, I wanted to leave with words that you shared, I think, every day while I was in high school. And that was, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I treasure that gift in our friendship, and please continue to take care as you lead, teach, and serve.
Thanks, Cliff.